do the question that you've got on here, which is to do with the creative writing. Now, as you can see, we've given you a few things on the side to give you a bit of guidance in terms of the kind of things that examiners are looking for on a piece of creative writing in the language paper. This question would be for paper 1, question 5. And we're looking for the use of simile, the use of personification, the use of a complex sentence, the use of a minor sentence, the use of a one-sentence paragraph. Now it says here, write a story that starts with the sentence, suddenly it all went quiet. Now I'm not going to write the story with you, but I'm going to give you maybe about some ideas in terms of what you could write in and the kind of things that we're looking for in the way that you could structure. Now it says here, suddenly it all went quiet, so it leaves it open really in terms of the atmosphere, the situation that you actually want to create. So the hard thing about this is coming to with a scenario where suddenly it all goes quiet. So I'm going to put in my, I forgot my booklet today, so I'm going to do it on a piece of lined paper. So I'm going to put autumn 1.2, and this is the extended task, the creative writing task. Now I have to make sure that it is a story, so it says write a story, and then it does say that I need to it starts with the sentence. So you do have to do, if you get a question like that, you have to start your story with suddenly it all went quiet. So I've got suddenly, comma, it all went quiet. Now, because I tend to, when I write a story, I tend to follow kind of like a 5-paragraph, 5 structure idea. Now, when I do my stories, I tend to start by describing the weather. Then I tend to describe the setting, so where I am, and put a house for a setting there. So that tends to be like the first part of my story. Then I tend to focus on the character, but I tend to describe my character kind of physically. Then I go into my character's thoughts, so what they're thinking. I tend to put a flashback here because it allows me to play with the tense, and the examiner can see that I'm doing a bit of structure. And then I come back to the present, probably to the setting, and I go back to the weather. So this is the way that I like to structure my story. So I tend to start with the weather and the setting, and then I go to my character, like physically, what they think, a bit of a flashback, back to the setting and the weather, and that allows me to have a really clear structure of what I'm writing. Now, when you are, you need to remember that in the exam for this question, it's not about writing about some epic journey across 3,000 continents with 3,000 characters. The main thing that you want to make sure that you've got is a really clear, short story that has a clear beginning and a clear end. And I tend to always also say that if you're doing this story that you want to make sure that you've only got maybe like one character, unless you've got 2 to do with your flashback, like one setting and one main event, okay? Because what that will allow you is to show and tell, describing loads of detail, rather than rambling on and having loads of dialogue and just going off on one and then running out of time. Because remember, you've only got 45 minutes to actually write this answer, and that includes 5 minutes planning. So, and 5 minutes proofreading. So actually, you've only got 35 minutes to write your answer. So because I've got this, suddenly it all went quiet, and I like starting my stories with the weather. I'm gonna kind of suggest that it is a thunderous night. So it suddenly all went quiet, and my first paragraph will be about kind of how the distant thunder something I want to personify it, so either like hid away or was silent Okay, so I'm going to start with the paragraph. Now, because I'm talking about the distance thunder, what I might do actually at the end of my story, I start planning actually what I want to happen at the end. Am I going to put the thunder is closer? Now, my story is basically going to be about a young boy, okay, so a young boy in his room, okay, the setting is going to be his bedroom, and this is him experiencing thunder for the first time, okay, and actually how scared he is. So he's very young and he is experiencing thunder. So actually, that's a lot of what my story is going to be about. My flashback, because I already want to think, what is his flashback going to be? It might be, I haven't decided yet, it might come as I'm planning, but it could be actually a time when he was really little and he wanted his mom to come and help him, or maybe the last time he felt that scared. So like being on his own in that room reminded him of something. So I haven't decided yet what my flashback is going to be yet, but I will as I'm planning, because sometimes it takes a while for the idea to kind of juice up. Now, because I'm going to start with the weather, so suddenly all went quiet, and then I'm going to talk about the distant thunder hid away or went silent, and then because I've got this, I'm going to actually describe rain. Now, when I've got rain, like I like to talk about the way that it's falling. So if I'm trying to create quite an eerie and dark atmosphere, I think about like either falling like spears or nails. Or if I want to kind of create something a bit more magical, I might talk about the rain being like crystals. It depends actually what I'm thinking about. And of course, because I am in a room, I am going to talk about the way that the rain is maybe either tapping or knocking or beating. Depends how hard I want the rain to be. Okay, so that's up to you. I'm giving you ideas here in terms of the way that you can describe your story. Now, because I've got the rain, I am going to actually describe. I'm going to set it at night time, because thunder at night time is more scary. So we are at night, and I'm going to describe the sky as, I love using this word, the atrimentus. Atrimentus means like inky black, like really, really dark. And I'm going to say how it was starless. Because if I've got rain, it means that I've got loads of clouds. So probably I'm not likely to be able to see the stars. The other thing as well that I might decide to describe is the fact that I have, I don't know, the wind. Okay, so again, that gives me an opportunity to describe something else that has got a bit of kind of a personality. So I might say the wind howled, or the wind whispered, or the wind I don't know, called. So all of those things kind of adds to the atmosphere. So I'm gonna personify the wind. Okay. The other thing that I might decide to do as well, so I've got wind, I might also describe the temperature. Now, if the temperature outside is cold or freezing, then as I'm moving from the outside to the inside of my house, I start to think about changing the temperature. Now, he's going to be in his bedroom, so I'm going to think about things that describe a boy's bedroom, but that is, like, I'm not saying that it is his bedroom. So I might talk about the bed with a cover of cars. And I know that this is very stereotypical, but I'm going to focus on those things. Maybe some football posters and dinosaurs and just general teddies. Okay, so I want to create that room as well in my description. And what I might do is, because this is like a motif across my story, I might describe an item on a shelf. Maybe I don't know. what might a boy, oh, like a little warrior, okay, so a little toy soldier that actually is shaking at this moment because of the thunder, okay. And then I would introduce my character physically. Now, when I talk about my character physically, I talk about the things that they're wearing. So I might like, what is he wearing? And I might talk about his PJs because he's in bed. And I would talk about the print on his PJs. So I might talk again about, if I've mentioned dinosaurs, I might put some more dinosaurs there. And his socks. And what else might he be wearing to bed? Maybe even a dressing gown. Okay. And then I might describe a tiny bit about their appearance. So when I think of little children, I always think of them as having curly hair. So I'm going to give him like curly wreaths of hair. Okay. So like that's like he's got loads of curly hair. I might give him like deep hazel nut eyes. It's up to you what color eyes you want to give them. And then because they're young, I'm going to talk about their soft skin, maybe like a peach. You know, like peaches are really soft, and rosy as well. So that shows his youth. And then I go from the outside, like the physical description, to the way that they feel. Okay, so I don't like to write scared or what in general. You want to describe that they're scared. So when somebody's scared, they might be shaking, their breathing might be faster, their fists are clenched, and they might be actually a bit of sweaty, and they can hear their own heartbeat. So I'm just starting to kind of create kind of my character. And then for his flashback, actually, what I'm going to do is, because in his thoughts, he's going to look at the soldier, okay? And the soldier has stopped shaking for the moment, okay, because the thunder has stopped. So actually, what my flashback is going to be is the first time, so he thinks about once playing as a soldier and with his friends, and maybe kind of getting stuck on the slide and how scared he was, okay, but this little toy soldier made him feel brave, okay. So I would do that. Now that would be his thoughts, that would be his flashback. Because I'm in the playground, I might describe like children playing and they're screaming and they're cheers and things like that in that flashback. And then what I do is I snap back into the bedroom, okay. So before you have lightning, you might talk about a flash of light, like lacerated means like cut through the sky. And then you have the thunder being closer and louder, and then I'll end with the little toy soldier on the shelf actually falling down, okay. Now that is my story. That's kind of how my brain is thinking of how I would write it. But ultimately, all of this is like, this would be one paragraph, that would be a paragraph, that would be another paragraph, that would be another paragraph, and that would be another paragraph. And what this ensures that I'm doing is, number one, I'm paragraphing. Number two, by describing the weather, it allows me for a lot of personification and pathetic fallacy. By having this little toy soldier in my story and that is being repeated, it allows for a bit of a motif, okay? And then I've also, as I'm planning, I'm thinking of really good vocabulary that I might want to use. So I might use a thesaurus. So rather than saying a flash of light, I might look for synonyms for the word light. So you're kind of trying to find vocabulary that you might want to use. Now remember, for your task, you're only writing about 200 words, so you're probably only going to be able to do like maybe the first three, okay? If you want to already practice that whole structure, ultimately you're only writing for 35 minutes, maybe push yourselves and try to write a bit extra and hand that in to your teacher, because that will give them a really good insight into the way that you craft a whole story. Okay? Well, I hope that you found this helpful, Year 10. Good luck!